The fluorescent lights of the quick-stop convenience store buzzed overhead at exactly 11:47 p.m. Maya Chen pushed through the glass door, and the little bell above announced her arrival with a cheerful ding that felt almost offensive, given how tired she was. 8 months. 8 months of sand and silence and missions she would never speak about. 8 months of watching her team's backs in places that didn't officially exist. And now, finally, her first week of leave. She had driven 6 hours from the base to reach Virginia Beach. Her childhood home sat empty now. Her mother passed 3 years ago, her father remarried and living in Seattle. But the house still belonged to her, and she needed somewhere quiet, somewhere familiar, somewhere she could remember who she was before the Navy turned her into something else entirely. The drive had drained her. Her eyes burned. Her shoulders ached from gripping the steering wheel through 3 states. All she wanted was caffeine and something salty to keep her awake for the final 20 minutes home. Simple. Quick. Anonymous. Maya grabbed a basket and moved through the aisles on autopilot. Energy drinks, beef jerky, a bag of chips she would regret tomorrow. The mundane comfort of civilian choices. She wore faded jeans with a hole in the left knee, an oversized gray hoodie from her college days, and sneakers that had seen better years. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. At 28 years old, and barely clearing 5'3", she looked exactly like what these fluorescent lights suggested a tired young woman who should probably be asleep. No one looking at her would guess the truth. That was the point. Maya had learned early in her training that her appearance was its own kind of weapon. People underestimated small women. They saw fragility where there was steel. They saw vulnerability where there was lethality. Their assumptions became her advantage every single time. She rounded the snack aisle and stopped. 3 men stood near the back of the store, clustered around the beer cooler. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Expensive watches catching the fluorescent light. Designer sneakers that cost more than some people's rent. The kind of confidence that came from never facing real consequences for anything. Maya's training kicked in before she could stop it. Threat assessment. Automatic. Unconscious. The tallest one stood about 6'2". Gym muscles, not functional strength. The kind built for mirrors, not combat. He would be slow. Predictable. Relied on intimidation. The second was shorter, but broader. Wrestler's build, maybe. He would try to grapple if things went sideways. Get close. Use his weight. The third held his phone recording something. Wiry. Quick. The type who would run first and fight never. Maya filed the information away and kept moving. Not her problem. She just wanted to pay and leave. Then she heard the voice behind the counter. "Please, I already told you. I can't give you my number." Maya's head turned. The young woman at the register couldn't have been older than 19. Name tag reading Destiny. Dark hair pulled back tight. Uniform polo shirt a size too big. Hands gripping the counter like it was the only thing keeping her upright. And her eyes. God, her eyes. Maya had seen that look before. In villages overseas. In rescue operations. In the faces of people who had been trapped too long with predators circling. Destiny was terrified. The tall one leaned over the counter, his elbows planted like he owned the space. His smile never reached his eyes. "Come on, sweetheart. Don't be like that. We've been coming here for weeks. You know us. We're good guys. My manager doesn't allow me to give out personal information." Destiny's voice shook despite her attempt at professionalism. "Store policy. Your manager left 3 hours ago." The shorter one stepped closer, boxing her in from the side. "We watched him drive away. You're all alone tonight. No manager, no backup, just us." The one with the phone laughed. Yeah, just us keeping you company. You should be grateful. Pretty girl like you working alone this late dangerous world out there. Maya set her basket down quietly. Her body had gone still in a way that most people would never recognize. The stillness before action. The calm before the strike. She had two choices. Walk away. Not her jurisdiction, not her problem, not her responsibility. She was on leave. She was exhausted. She had every reason to pay for her items and disappear into the night. Or she could do what she had been trained to do. Protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Maya picked up her basket and walked toward the counter. Destiny saw her approaching, and the relief in her eyes was immediate, desperate, painful. Here was another customer, another witness. Maybe these men would back off now, maintain some facade of decency with a stranger present. The tall one noticed Destiny's shifting attention and turned. His eyes swept over Maya with the kind of dismissive assessment she had experienced 1,000 times before. Small woman, tired, alone, not a threat, not even worth acknowledging. He turned back to Destiny like Maya didn't exist. So here's what's gonna happen, he said, his voice dropping lower. You're gonna write your number on this receipt. Then tomorrow night we're gonna pick you up when your shift ends, take you somewhere nice, show you a good time. I have a boyfriend. Destiny's lie came out high and thin. No, you don't. The shorter one pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. We checked your Instagram. Single as they come. Nice bikini pics from last summer, by the way. Destiny's face went white. They had been researching her, stalking her. This wasn't random harassment. This was calculated, planned, escalating. Maya reached the counter and set her items down with deliberate calm. Just these, she said to Destiny, her voice even and unremarkable. The tall one finally acknowledged her presence with a sharp look. You mind, we're having a conversation here. Take your time. Maya didn't look at him. She looked at Destiny. I'm not in any rush. Something passed between the two women in that moment. A recognition, a communication that required no words. I see you. I see what's happening. You're not alone anymore. Destiny's hands trembled as she began scanning Maya's items. The beeping of the register filled the silence. Energy drinks at midnight. The shorter one moved closer to Maya, his bulk invading her space. What's a little thing like you doing out so late, boyfriend, waiting at home? Maya didn't step back. She never stepped back. No boyfriend. No boyfriend. He grinned at his friends. You hear that? This one's single, too. Must be our lucky night. The tall one pushed off from the counter and turned his full attention to Maya for the first time. Up close, she could smell the alcohol on his breath. Beer and something stronger underneath. Liquid courage that had loosened whatever inhibitions might have normally kept him in check. You know what I like this one better? He looked Maya up and down with exaggerated slowness. Smaller package. Easier to handle. His friends laughed like it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. Maya felt the familiar cold settling into her chest. The same cold she felt before every operation, before every door breach, before every moment when violence became inevitable. Your total is 1437. Destiny's voice cracked on the numbers. Maya reached for her wallet, keeping her movements slow and non-threatening. The shorter one was on her right, the tall one directly in front. The one with the phone had circled around behind her, cutting off her path to the door. They were positioning themselves, probably unconsciously. Pack behavior. Predators surrounding prey. They had no idea what they were surrounding. You girls should come party with us. The tall one reached out and touched Destiny's hand where it rested on the counter. We've got a hotel room a few blocks from here. Minibar, hot tub, the whole deal. Destiny yanked her hand back like she had been burned. I told you, I'm working. Your shift ends eventually. He leaned closer. We can wait. We're patient men. The one behind Maya spoke up. Real patient. We've been watching this store for 3 weeks now, learning the schedule, learning when little Destiny here works alone. 3 weeks. They had been stalking this girl for 3 weeks. Maya's hand stopped halfway to her wallet. That's enough. Her voice cut through the store like a blade. Not loud, not aggressive, just absolutely unquestionably final. The 3 men went quiet. It was the tone that did it. Something in the frequency that human beings recognized on a primal level. The voice of someone who was not making requests. The tall one recovered first. His face twisted into something ugly. Excuse me. You heard me. Maya turned to face him fully, her body shifting into a stance that looked casual to untrained eyes, but opened every angle she needed. You've said what you came to say. Now it's time to leave. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? The shorter one stepped closer, close enough that Maya could smell his cologne mixing with beer sweat. You don't get to tell us what to do. I'm not telling you anything. Maya's eyes never left the tall one. He was the leader. Take him down, the others would fold. I'm giving you a choice. Walk out that door right now, and this ends. Stay, and I promise you'll regret it. The one with the phone laughed nervously. Is this chick serious right now? Dead serious. The tall one's face had gone red. Not embarrassment. Rage. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone half his size. His ego couldn't process it. Listen here, you little... No. Maya cut him off with a single word. You listen. I've asked you nicely to leave. That was your courtesy warning. The next thing that happens is your choice, not mine. So choose carefully. Silence hung in the air like a held breath. Destiny stood frozen behind the counter, her eyes wide and wet. The 3 men exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. Maya read it all. The decision being made, the violence being greenlit. The tall one smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. I think someone needs to teach you some manners. That's your choice, then. That's my... He stopped, confusion flickering across his face. What? You just chose. I want to make sure you understand that. Whatever happens next, you chose it. The shorter one grabbed Maya's shoulder from the right. The moment his fingers made contact, everything changed. Maya had been waiting for it. The touch that crossed the line from intimidation to assault. The justification she needed under both military rules of engagement and civilian self-defense law. She had given them every opportunity to walk away, every chance to make the smart choice. They had chosen violence instead. Time seemed to slow down the way it always did in these moments. Maya's body moved with the fluid precision of someone who had spent 6 years training for exactly this. Not gym training, not martial arts classes on weekends. Real combat training. The kind that happened in the dark, in the sand, in buildings rigged with explosives and filled with men who wanted to kill her. The kind that made 3 drunk idiots in a convenience store almost laughably simple. She trapped the shorter one's wrist before he could process that she had moved. Rotated hard. Used his own momentum against him. His face hit the candy rack with a sound like a watermelon dropped on concrete. Chocolate bars scattered across the linoleum in every direction. The tall one lunged at her exactly as she had predicted. Big men always lunged. They trusted their size to solve problems. They never expected their targets to move into the attack instead of away from it. Maya pivoted inside his reach, where his long arms became useless. Her elbow connected with his solar plexus in a strike that drove every molecule of air from his lungs. He doubled over gasping, and she helped his face meet the counter. The cash register rattled with the impact. The one with the phone was running. She had expected that too. The weak ones always ran. But he had recorded her, recorded the store, recorded evidence that could be used to deny what really happened here, to paint her as the aggressor, to let these predators walk free. Maya covered the distance in 2 seconds. Her legs swept his feet, and he crashed to the floor hard enough to knock the phone from his grip. She was on him before he could rise her knee in his back. His arm twisted at an angle that made screaming the only option. "Don't move." Her voice hadn't changed. Still calm. Still controlled. Not 1 inch. 15 seconds. Maybe less. 3 men who had spent weeks planning how to victimize a teenage girl. 3 men who thought their size and numbers made them invincible. 3 men who had never encountered someone like Maya Chen. They lay scattered across the convenience store floor like broken toys, groaning and gasping and trying to understand what had just happened to them. Destiny stood behind the counter, with her hand pressed over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Not fear anymore. Shock. Disbelief. The dawning realization that she had just witnessed something impossible. "Call 911. Maya's voice cut through the girl's frozen state. "Tell them you need police for 3 men detained for harassment, stalking, and assault. Tell them the situation is under control." Destiny didn't move. Couldn't move. "Destiny." Maya said her name with firm gentleness. "Look at me." The girl's eyes focused. "You're safe now, I promise. But I need you to make that call. Can you do that for me?" Destiny nodded slowly. Her hand found her phone. Her fingers shook as she dialed. The tall one tried to push himself up from the floor. Maya shifted her weight slightly, not even looking at him, and her heel found a pressure point on his hand that sent fresh pain cascading through his nervous system. "I said don't move." He collapsed back down with a whimper. The shorter one had rolled onto his back, blood streaming from his nose, where the candy rack had rearranged his face. He stared at Maya with an expression she had seen many times before. The expression of a man realizing he had made a catastrophic miscalculation. "Who the hell are you?" His voice came out thick and wet through the blood. Maya didn't answer. She was listening to Destiny give the address to the 911 operator, her voice steadier, now the words coming easier. Good. The girl was tough. She would get through this. "I asked you a question." The shorter one's pride had survived his beating, apparently. "Who the hell are you? Some kind of MMA fighter. What the hell just happened?" "What happened," Maya said quietly, "is that you spent 3 weeks stalking a 19-year-old girl. You cornered her at midnight. You made her feel like prey. And then you put your hands on the wrong person. This is assault." The tall one's voice was muffled against the floor. "This is you can't. We're going to sue you. We're going to have you arrested. We have connections. My father is a lawyer. He's going to destroy you. Your father is going to watch the security footage." Maya nodded toward the camera mounted above the register. He's going to see his son harassing a teenager, stalking her workplace, threatening her, putting his hands on a woman who told him to back off, and then he's going to explain to you how absolutely screwed you are. The one with the phone, the one pinned under her knee, started to cry. "I didn't even touch her," he sobbed. "I was just recording. I didn't do anything." "You were recording evidence of stalking and harassment. You were blocking her exit route. You were participating in everything your friends did." Maya increased the pressure on his arm slightly. "In the eyes of the law, that makes you just as guilty. But more importantly, in the eyes of basic human decency, that makes you complicit in terrorizing a young woman who was just trying to do her job." Destiny had finished her call. She stood behind the counter phone, still pressed to her ear, watching Maya with an expression that shifted between awe and something else. Something like hope. "They're sending a patrol car," she said. They said 8 minutes. Good. Maya adjusted her position, maintaining control of all 3 men without apparent effort. In the meantime, nobody moves. Nobody talks. We wait. You can't do this. The tall one's bravado was trying to reassert itself. You can't just assault people and hold them against their will. That's kidnapping. That's false imprisonment. You're going to prison for this. I defended myself and another person from imminent physical threat. Maya's voice remained infuriatingly calm. You initiated physical contact after being warned to leave. I used exactly the force necessary to neutralize the threat. Every second of it is on that camera. When the police get here, they'll review the footage, and then they'll arrest you, not me. You're crazy. The shorter one spat blood on the floor. You're a crazy person. Maybe. Maya watched the door, waiting for the flash of police lights. But I'm not the one lying in a puddle of my own blood because I thought stalking teenage girls was a fun Friday night activity. Destiny made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. Probably both. Are you okay? Maya asked her, keeping her eyes on the 3 men. I don't know. Destiny's voice trembled. I've been scared for so long. Every time I saw their car in the parking lot. Every time they came in. I told my manager, but he said they were just being friendly. He said I was being dramatic. He said he was wrong. Maya cut off the spiral. You weren't being dramatic. You were being hunted. There's a difference. And you survived it. You're going to be okay now. The tears came harder. Where did you learn to do that? Are you like a cop or something? Maya was quiet for a moment. Outside, she could hear sirens in the distance, getting closer. I'm just someone who was in the right place at the right time. That's not... Destiny shook her head. Normal people can't do what you just did. You took out 3 guys in like 10 seconds. You're not even breathing hard. Who are you? The sirens were very close now. Red and blue lights began to flash through the store's front windows. Maya looked at Destiny. At this 19-year-old girl who had been trapped for weeks in a nightmare that no one believed. At the tears drying on her face. At the hope beginning to kindle in her eyes. I'm someone who knows what it feels like to be underestimated, Maya said finally. And I'm someone who swore a long time ago that I would protect people who couldn't protect themselves. The bell above the door dinged. 2 police officers entered with their hands on their weapons, immediately assessing the scene. 3 men on the ground, 1 woman standing over them, a young clerk crying behind the counter. Maya slowly raised her hands where they could see them. No sudden movements. No reasons for escalation. Officers, my name is Maya Chen. I'm active duty Navy on leave. These 3 men were harassing and stalking this young woman. When one of them put his hands on me, I defended myself. The store's security camera recorded everything. The officers exchanged a look. The older one, a woman with graying hair and sharp eyes, took in Maya's relaxed stance, her calm voice, the 3 groaning men on the floor. Navy, huh? Officer Denise Warren had been doing this job for 12 years. She had seen a lot of bar fights and domestic disturbances and convenience store robberies, but she had never seen anything quite like this. What rating? Maya met her eyes. And in that moment, Officer Warren knew. She couldn't have said exactly how she knew, but something in this small woman's gaze told her everything. Let's just say I've had some specialized training. Officer Warren nodded slowly. I'll bet you have. The tall one chose that moment to make one last desperate attempt to control the narrative. Officer, thank God you're here. This woman attacked us unprovoked. We were just shopping and she went crazy. We want to press charges. We want... Sir! Officer Warren's voice could have frozen water. I'm going to stop you right there. Because I've been watching you 3 patrol this parking lot for the past month. I've seen the complaints this store has filed, and I've been waiting for you to do something stupid enough to let me finally arrest you. She smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Congratulations. Tonight's your lucky night. The color drained from the tall one's face as the reality finally hit him. He wasn't going to talk his way out of this. His father's legal connections weren't going to save him. His expensive watch and designer sneakers meant nothing now. He had been beaten by a woman half his size in 15 seconds, and he was going to jail. Maya stepped back as the officers took over cuffing the three men and reading them their rights. Destiny had emerged from behind the counter and stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "Thank you," the girl whispered. "I don't know how to thank you." Maya watched the officers load the three men into their patrol cars, watched their expensive sneakers drag across the pavement, watched them disappear into the back seats where they belonged. "You don't have to thank me." Maya finally let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Just promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll never let anyone make you feel small again. Promise me you'll remember this night. Not the fear, the ending. Remember that you're worth protecting. That you matter. That the right people will show up when you need them." Destiny was crying again, but differently this time. Relief instead of fear. Release instead of panic. "I promise." Maya nodded. It was enough. Officer Warren approached them, her notepad out. "I'm going to need statements from both of you. And Miss..." She looked at Maya with a mixture of respect and curiosity. "I have a feeling there's a lot more to your story than specialized training, but that can wait for the report." Maya almost smiled. "It usually can." The convenience store's fluorescent lights continued to buzz overhead. The bell above the door continued to ding as people came and went. The night continued to pass like any other night in Virginia Beach. But something had shifted. Something had changed. 3 predators had learned that their victims don't always stay victims. And one young woman behind a cash register had learned that sometimes when you're at your most vulnerable, when you've given up hope that anyone will help, someone shows up. Someone unexpected. Someone underestimated. Someone who refuses to look away. Maya Chen had come into that store for energy drinks and beef jerky. She was leaving with something else entirely. The knowledge that no matter how far she traveled from the battlefield, no matter how many civilian clothes she wore, no matter how tired she would always be exactly who she had trained to be. A protector, a warrior, a guardian of those who couldn't guard themselves. And God help anyone who made her prove it. Officer Warren's partner, a younger man named Rodriguez, finished loading the 3 attackers into separate patrol cars. Their protests had faded to sullen silence, the reality of their situation finally sinking in. Through the convenience store window, Maya watched them sitting in the back seats, heads down, expensive watches catching the red and blue lights. "I need you both to come down to the station," Officer Warren said, tucking her notepad into her pocket. "Formal statements, review of the security footage, the whole process. Shouldn't take more than a few hours." Destiny's face fell. "But my shift doesn't end until 6. I can't just leave the store empty." "I'll call the owner." Warren's voice softened. "Given what happened here tonight, I think they'll understand. You're not working alone for the rest of this shift. That's not negotiable." Maya watched the exchange with quiet attention. Something about Officer Warren's familiarity with the situation bothered her. The woman had mentioned watching those 3 men for a month. She had referenced complaints the store had filed. "You knew about them?" Maya's statement cut through the conversation. "Before tonight, you knew what they were doing." Warren's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "We suspected." Suspected. Maya let the word hang in the air. For a month. While this girl worked alone at midnight. While they escalated. While they stalked her social media and learned her schedule. There are procedures. Procedures. Maya felt something cold move through her chest. I spent the last 8 months in places where procedures meant the difference between people living and dying. And right now, looking at this 19-year-old girl who's been terrified for weeks while everyone followed procedures, I'm wondering whose life those procedures were actually protecting. Warren's eyes flickered with something that might have been shame, or maybe just frustration at hearing the truth spoken aloud. The system isn't perfect. No. Maya looked at Destiny, who stood frozen between them, watching the exchange with wide eyes. It isn't. But tonight the system didn't save her. A stranger buying energy drinks did. That should bother you. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway. Warren, we've got the footage downloading. Store owner's on his way. Says he wants to see the video himself before we take the original. And Warren nodded, her expression carefully neutral. Tell him we'll wait. She turned back to Maya. You're right. The system failed her. I failed her. But standing here arguing about it doesn't change what happened or what needs to happen next. So can we agree to finish this at the station? Maya held her gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Good. Warren headed toward the door. Rodriguez will drive you both. I'll follow with the footage once the owner arrives. The ride to the police station passed in silence. Destiny sat pressed against the passenger door, her arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold her own pieces together. Maya sat in the back, watching the streets of Virginia Beach slide past in the darkness. She should have been home by now. Should have been collapsing into the bed she had slept in as a teenager, surrounded by memories of a simpler time. Instead, she was heading to a police station to give a statement about a fight she had never wanted. But even as the thought crossed her mind, she knew she wouldn't change anything about tonight. Some missions found you whether you were looking for them or not. The station buzzed with the peculiar energy of a Friday night. Officers processing DUIs. A woman crying softly while filing a domestic violence report. 2 men arguing loudly and holding about whose fault the bar fight had been. Maya and Destiny were led to a small interview room with harsh fluorescent lights and plastic chairs that had seen better decades. A detective named Harrison, mid-50s, tired eyes, coffee stains on his tie, took their initial statements while they waited for the security footage to arrive. So, let me get this straight. Harrison flipped through his notes. You were just stopping for snacks. Saw these 3 gentlemen harassing the clerk and decided to intervene. They weren't gentlemen, Maya said quietly. And I didn't decide anything. They put their hands on me. I responded. Write the 15-second takedown. Harrison's eyebrows rose slightly. 3 grown men, all larger than you, neutralized in 15 seconds. That's quite a response. I have training. What kind of training exactly? Maya met his eyes steadily. The kind that's classified. Harrison's pen stopped moving. He studied her face for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Or understanding. Navy? Yes. SEAL. Maya didn't answer. She didn't have to. Harrison let out a low whistle. Well, that explains a few things. He closed his notebook and stood. I'm going to check on that footage. You 2 sit tight. Can I get you anything, coffee, water? Water would be great, Destiny said, her first words since they had arrived. Coming right up. He left them alone in the interview room. The fluorescent light hummed overhead. Destiny's knee bounced against the table leg in a nervous rhythm. How are you holding up? Maya asked. I don't know. Destiny's voice cracked. I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't been there. If you had come in 5 minutes later. Or not at all. But I was there, and I didn't come in later. That's what matters. Is it? Destiny turned to face her fully. Because I've been scared for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of coming to work and wondering if tonight was the night something really bad happened. 3 weeks of telling myself I was being paranoid. 3 weeks of my manager telling me I was overreacting. The words poured out faster now, a dam breaking. Do you know what Marcus said to me last week, the tall one? He said he knew where I lived. He described my apartment building. The one with the blue door, he said. The one with the broken buzzer on apartment 3B. That's my apartment. He knows where I sleep. Maya felt her hands curl into fists under the table. Did you tell anyone? I told my manager. He said Marcus was probably just messing with me. That guys like that are all talk. He said if I filed a police report, it would make problems for the store. Drive away customers. Destiny laughed bitterly. Customers? Like those three were paying customers and not predators who bought a six-pack once as an excuse to stay. What about family friends? My mom works nights. My dad left when I was 12. I've got a sister in California, but she's got her own problems. Destiny wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm kind of on my own here. That's why I took the night shift in the first place. The pay is better, and I'm trying to save for community college. Maya understood that kind of alone. She had lived it herself in different ways. The loneliness of being the only woman in a room full of men who didn't think she belonged. The isolation of carrying experiences that no one in her civilian life could ever understand. You're not on your own anymore, Maya said. What happened tonight changes things. Those three are going to face real consequences. The store is going to have to change their policies. And if anyone gives you trouble about any of it, you call me. Destiny stared at her. I don't even know your name. Maya. Maya Chen. Maya. Destiny tested the name like it was something precious. Why did you help me? You could have just paid for your stuff and left. Nobody would have blamed you. Maya was quiet for a moment, considering how to answer. When I was 16, she finally said, I was walking home from school when a man in a van pulled up next to me. He asked for directions. When I stepped closer to help him, he grabbed my arm and tried to pull me inside. Destiny's eyes went wide. A woman saw what was happening. She was across the street walking her dog. She screamed at him, ran toward us, threw her water bottle at his windshield. It wasn't much, but it was enough. He got scared and drove away. Maya met Destiny's eyes. I never got her name. Never saw her again. But she changed the entire trajectory of my life in that moment. Not just because she saved me from whatever would have happened in that van, but because she showed me that strangers could choose to help, that people could see someone in trouble and actually do something about it. So you became what you became. Eventually. It took a while. But yeah, that woman is the reason I'm in the Navy today. She's the reason I trained as hard as I did. Because I wanted to be the person who showed up for someone else the way she showed up for me. The door opened. Harrison returned with 2 bottles of water and a tablet tucked under his arm. Footage just arrived. We've got everything from about an hour before the incident through the takedown. He set the tablet on the table. I think you two should see this before we proceed. He pressed play. The video began with the store nearly empty. A timestamp showed 10:22 p.m. Maya watched as 3 men entered the store, their body language immediately predatory. They didn't browse. They didn't shop. They positioned themselves and waited. 10 minutes later, Destiny arrived for her shift. Maya watched her exchange words with the departing manager, watched the brief moment of hesitation before she stepped behind the counter. She had known. Even then, Destiny had known what the night would bring. The footage was hard to watch. The 3 men circled like wolves, testing Destiny's boundaries incrementally. A comment here. A too long look there. Moving closer. Backing off. Moving closer again. Classic predator behavior. Maya had seen it in war zones. She had seen it in interrogation training. She was seeing it now in a convenience store in Virginia Beach. Then Maya entered the frame. Watch this part, Harrison said, leaning forward. On screen, Maya moved through the store with a casualness that now seemed almost laughable. She had been reading the situation from the moment she walked in. Her positioning, her sight lines, the way she never once turned her back to the three men. It was all there, if you knew what to look for. And Harrison clearly knew what to look for. "You were assessing them the whole time," he said. "Before they even noticed you were there, you had already mapped out every scenario." "Training," Maya said simply. The footage continued. The confrontation at the counter, Maya's calm intervention, the warning she had given, the moment when the shorter one grabbed her shoulder, and then the 15 seconds that changed everything. Watching it on video was different than living it. Maya could see now how fast she had moved, how precise each action had been. The three men looked almost comically slow by comparison, their drunken aggression no match for years of combat training. "I've been a cop for 32 years, Harrison said when the footage ended. "I've seen a lot of fights, a lot of self-defense situations. I have never seen anything like that." "I may have overtrained for the situation," Maya admitted. Harrison actually laughed. "Overtrained? Right." He stood and walked to the door. "Sit tight for a few more minutes. The captain wants to meet you." He left before Maya could object. "Captain." Destiny looked at her. "Why would the captain want to meet you?" "I don't know." But Maya had a suspicion. Her identity wasn't as secret as she might have hoped. The Navy had a complicated relationship with publicity, and a female SEAL taking down 3 attackers in a convenience store was exactly the kind of story that could go viral, which meant decisions were being made above her pay grade. Again, 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Destiny had started to doze off, her head resting against her crossed arms on the table. Maya didn't wake her. The girl needed rest more than she needed to witness whatever was coming next. The door opened again. This time, it wasn't Harrison. Captain Victoria Santos was a striking woman in her early 60s. Silver hair cut short, uniform pressed with military precision despite the late hour. She moved with the confidence of someone who had spent decades commanding respect and rarely had to ask for it twice. "Petty Officer Chen," Santos extended her hand. "I apologize for the wait. I wanted to review all the materials before we spoke." Maya shook her hand, noting the firm grip, the direct eye contact. This woman had military in her background. Maybe active duty at some point, definitely adjacent now. "I'm also Captain Santos, retired Army," she confirmed, reading Maya's assessment. "Military police 25 years. These days I run this precinct and try to keep the local miscreants in line." "With respect, Captain, what's this about? I'm happy to give whatever statement you need, but I should probably contact my commanding officer before..." "Already done." Santos pulled out a chair and sat across from Maya, ignoring the sleeping Destiny. "I called Naval Station Norfolk an hour ago. Spoke with a Captain Hayes. He speaks very highly of you." Maya's stomach tightened. Hayes was her CO. He was also the only one who knew her full service record. "He told me to tell you, and I quote, 'Whatever she did, it was probably the right call.'" Santos almost smiled. "He also said to remind you that you're on leave and should try to actually relax at some point." "I was trying. The situation intervened." "Situations have a way of finding people like you." Santos pulled out a folder and slid it across the table. "Those 3 men you took down tonight, they're not first-time offenders." Maya opened the folder. Inside were 3 mugshots, 3 rap sheets, 3 histories of violence that stretched back years. Marcus Webb, 2 prior arrests for assault, 1 for domestic violence. Charges dropped both times due to lack of evidence or unwilling witnesses. Tyler Brennan, 1 arrest for sexual assault. Case dismissed when the victim refused to testify after receiving threatening messages from unknown sources. Derek Hoffman, No prior arrests, but his name appeared in 4 separate police reports as a witness to incidents involving his 2 friends. Always present, never charged. They've been doing this for years, Maya said, the pieces falling into place. They work as a pack. They target vulnerable women, and they're smart enough to intimidate their victims into silence. That's our theory. Santos leaned back in her chair. We've been building a case, but we could never get enough evidence. Victims were too scared to come forward. The few who did recanted their statements within weeks. Maya looked at Destiny, still sleeping peacefully at the table. She won't recant. Because of you. Because she knows someone's in her corner now. Someone who can protect her from retaliation. Santos paused. The security footage from tonight isn't just evidence of assault, Chen. It's evidence of a pattern. Those 3 men on camera talking about how they've been watching the store for weeks, that's stalking. That's premeditation. That's enough to open investigations into every complaint that's ever been filed against them. So tonight wasn't just about tonight. No. Tonight might be the first domino in something much bigger. Santos closed the folder. But that only works if you're willing to see it through. Testify if there's a trial. Go on record about what you witnessed and what you did. Maya understood the weight of what was being asked. Testifying meant publicity. Publicity meant her identity would become public. A female Navy SEAL testifying against 3 predators would be national news within hours. Her career wouldn't suffer, Hayes would make sure of that. But her anonymity would be gone forever. Every mission she might run in the future would be compromised by facial recognition. Every deployment would carry additional risk. Can I have some time to think about it? Of course, Santos stood. I'll need your answer by Monday. The DA wants to move fast on this one, and your testimony is the cornerstone of the case. She walked to the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Chen, I spent 25 years in the Army. I know what it costs to serve. And I know what it means when someone like you makes a choice to protect civilians even when it's not their mission. Maya met her eyes. What you did tonight wasn't just self-defense. It was who you are. People like us don't get to turn that off just because we're on leave. Santos smiled slightly. Think about the testimony. But don't think too hard. I suspect you already know what you're going to do. The door closed behind her, leaving Maya alone with a sleeping teenager and a decision that would change everything. She sat in the silence, turning the folder over in her hands. 3 faces stared up at her from their mugshots. 3 predators who had spent years destroying lives while the system failed to stop them. And now, because of 15 seconds in a convenience store, they might finally face real consequences. But only if Maya was willing to sacrifice her anonymity, her privacy, the invisible shield that had protected her throughout her career. Destiny stirred, lifting her head groggily. Did I fall asleep? What time is it? Almost 3 in the morning. Maya closed the folder. How are you feeling? Weird, tired, relieved, scared. Destiny rubbed her eyes. Is it over? Can we go? Almost. Maya looked at the girl's exhausted face, at the remnants of fear still lingering in her eyes. They're going to ask you to testify, against the 3 men. It might mean going to court. It might mean facing them again with lawyers trying to make you look bad. Destiny's face paled, but she didn't look away. Will you be there if I have to testify? Maya thought about Captain Santos's words, about Hayes's confidence in her judgment, about the folder full of victims who had been too scared to speak. Yeah, she said finally. I'll be there. Then I'll do it. Destiny's voice was small but steady. If you're there, I can do it. Maya nodded slowly. The decision had been made. Not in the grand strategic terms that Captain Santos had laid out, but in the simpler equation of a frightened girl who needed someone in her corner. Some missions you didn't choose. They chose you. And when they did, you showed up. Every time. Harrison returned a few minutes later with paperwork for both of them to sign. Formal statements, contact information, promises to be available for follow-up questions. As Maya signed her name for the dozenth time, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at the screen. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "We know who you are. We know where you live. This isn't over." Maya stared at the message for a long moment. Then she screenshot it, forwarded it to Harrison's email, and slipped the phone back in her pocket. They wanted to threaten her fine. Let them try. They had no idea what they were threatening. And they were about to find out. Harrison's face changed the moment he saw the forwarded message. The casual tiredness evaporated, replaced by something harder and more focused. "When did you receive this? 2 minutes ago." Maya kept her voice steady, but her mind was already running tactical assessments. Unknown number meant burner phone. The speed of the threat meant organization. Someone had been watching the arrest tracking developments, coordinating a response. These 3 men weren't operating alone. "I need to escalate this." Harrison was already moving toward the door. "Stay here. Don't leave this room." He disappeared into the hallway, leaving Maya and Destiny in the harsh, fluorescent silence. "What's happening?" Destiny's voice had gone small again. What was that message? Maya considered lying, considered protecting the girl from another layer of fear. But Destiny had earned the truth tonight, and Maya wasn't going to start treating her like she couldn't handle it. "Someone threatened me. Connected to the 3 men, probably. It means this situation is bigger than just them." Destiny's face went pale. "Bigger how? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." The door burst open. Captain Santos strode in, with Harrison close behind, her expression thunderous. "We traced the burner phone. It was purchased 3 days ago at a convenience store in Norfolk. Paid cash. But the idiot who bought it used the store's Wi-Fi while he was there, and we got a device ID." She slapped a photograph on the table. Maya looked at the face staring up at her. Male mid-40s expensive suit politician's smile. The kind of face you saw on campaign posters and charity event photos. "Who is he?" "Richard Webb." Santos let the name hang in the air. "Marcus Webb's father, senior partner at Webb, Morrison & Associates, one of the most powerful law firms in Virginia." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. His son mentioned him, said his father was a lawyer, said he would destroy me. Richard Webb has been protecting his son for years. Every arrest, every complaint, every victim who tried to come forward, Webb made it all disappear. Witness intimidation evidence tampering judges who owed him favors. Santos's voice dripped with barely contained fury. "We've known about it for a long time. We just couldn't prove it. And now? Now his son is sitting in a holding cell with security footage that can't be manipulated and a victim who has a Navy SEAL in her corner." Santos smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Richard Webb is scared. That text message proves it. Scared men make mistakes." Maya studied the photograph again. Richard Webb's eyes had the cold calculation of someone who had spent decades bending the world to his will. This wasn't a man who would surrender easily. He's not going to stop at text messages. "No, he's not." Santos pulled out a chair and sat down heavily. "Which is why I need to ask you something, Chen, and I need you to be honest with me." "Ask." "How far are you willing to go?" Maya didn't hesitate. "As far as it takes. Even if it means putting yourself in danger, even if it means becoming a target for one of the most connected men in Virginia." "Captain, I've spent the last 8 months being a target for people who made Richard Webb look like a parking ticket. This is nothing." Santos studied her for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "Good. Because I have an idea. It's risky. It's possibly illegal. And it might be the only way to take down Richard Webb and everyone he's been protecting. I'm listening. Santos leaned forward. Webb's whole operation depends on intimidating victims into silence. He can't manipulate evidence he doesn't know exists. He can't threaten witnesses if he doesn't know who they are. She paused. But right now he knows exactly where you are. He knows you're connected to this case, and he's already making moves against you. You want to use me as bait. I want to give him a target he can't resist, a Navy SEAL who embarrassed his son, a witness who can't be intimidated, someone visible enough that when he makes his move against you, we can catch him in the act. Destiny made a strangled sound. You can't. She just saved my life, and now you want to put her in danger. She's already in danger. Maya's voice was calm. The text message made that clear. The only question is whether we use that danger strategically or let Webb control the situation. Exactly. Santos nodded. Webb thinks he's the hunter here. He thinks he's in control. We let him keep thinking that while we set up the trap. Maya turned the plan over in her mind. It was risky. It was potentially very dangerous. And it was exactly the kind of operation she had been trained for. What do you need me to do? Santos pulled out her phone. First, we make you visible. The security footage from the convenience store is already being requested by local news stations. We release it. All of it. Your face, your actions, everything. And that burns my cover permanently. It also puts you in the spotlight, makes you impossible to attack quietly, and more importantly, it makes Richard Webb desperate. Santos's eyes gleamed. Desperate men move fast. They make mistakes. They leave evidence. And while he's focusing on me, we'll have teams watching his every move, phone taps, surveillance, the works. The moment he does anything that looks like witness intimidation or obstruction of justice, we nail him. Maya nodded slowly. It was a solid plan. Dangerous, but solid. There's one more thing. Santos hesitated. I can't order you to do this. It's not your job, not your jurisdiction, not your responsibility. You could walk out of here right now, go home, and let us handle Webb through normal channels. It would take years and he'd probably get away with most of it, but you wouldn't be personally at risk. But if we do this together, if we take him down now, it sends a message. To every predator, like his son. To every powerful man who thinks he can protect them. It says that the system might be broken, but there are still people willing to fight. Maya thought about Destiny. About the fear in her eyes when she talked about 3 weeks of being hunted. About all the other victims in those files who had been too scared to come forward. She thought about the woman who had thrown a water bottle at a van when Maya was 16. About choices that changed everything. Let's do it. Santos exhaled slowly. Thank you. She stood and headed for the door. I'll start the process. The footage will be on every news station by morning. In the meantime, I'm putting a protective detail on both of you. She paused at the door. Get some rest if you can. Tomorrow is going to be a very long day. The door closed behind her. Destiny stared at Maya with an expression that mixed admiration and terror. You're really going to do this? Let yourself be bait for a guy who's been making people disappear for years. I'm not letting myself be bait. Maya smiled slightly. I'm letting him think I'm bait. There's a difference. Is there, when you're the bait, you're passive. You wait for the predator to strike and hope someone saves you. Maya leaned forward. When you're the trap, you're in control. You choose when and where the confrontation happens. You dictate the terms. But what if something goes wrong? What if he's smarter than they think? Then I handle it. Maya's voice carried absolute certainty. Destiny, I've done things in the last 8 months that I can never talk about. I've faced people who made Richard Webb look like a schoolyard bully. He thinks his money and his connections make him untouchable. He has no idea what untouchable actually looks like. Destiny was quiet for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised them both. She laughed. What? Maya asked. I just keep thinking about those 3 guys in the store. How sure they were that they had everything under control. And then you just... She mimed an explosion with her hands. It's like they walked into a trap and didn't even know it. They didn't. And now their dad is walking into the same trap, like father, like son. Maya hadn't thought of it that way, but Destiny was right. The arrogance was hereditary. The blindness to their own vulnerability passed down through generations. Some people spend so long being the predator that they forget what it feels like to be prey. Maya stood and stretched her muscles, protesting after hours of tension. Richard Webb is about to remember. The next few hours blurred together in a haze of activity. Protective details were assigned. Safe houses were arranged. Statements were finalized and filed. By 6 in the morning, Maya and Destiny had been moved to a small apartment on the 3rd floor of a building that looked unremarkable from the outside, but had security features that impressed even Maya. Reinforced doors, bulletproof windows, multiple exit routes. Try to sleep. Maya gestured toward one of the bedrooms. You've been awake for almost 24 hours. What about you? I'll keep watch for a while. Old habits. Destiny hesitated at the bedroom door. Maya, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever get scared? Like actually scared? Maya considered the question carefully. Yes, but not the way most people mean. I don't get scared of what might happen to me. I get scared of failing, of not being there when someone needs me, of being too slow or too weak or too late. But not of getting hurt. Pain is temporary. Failure is permanent. Maya shrugged. You train enough, you learn to separate fear from function. You feel scared, but you act anyway. The fear doesn't go away. You just stop letting it make your decisions. Destiny nodded, slowly processing this. I want to be like that. Not a Navy SEAL or anything, but I want to not be scared all the time. You will be. Give it time. Maya smiled. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be intense. The girl disappeared into the bedroom. Maya heard the click of the lock, then nothing. Within minutes, the apartment fell silent. Maya moved to the window and looked out at the city waking up below. Somewhere out there, Richard Webb was planning his next move. Somewhere out there, his son was sitting in a cell realizing that Daddy's money might not save him this time. And somewhere out there, more victims were living in fear. Women like Destiny who had been taught that powerful men always won, that the system would never protect them, that speaking up only made things worse. Tomorrow, the footage would air. Tomorrow, Maya's face would be everywhere. Tomorrow, the trap would be set, and Richard Webb would walk right into it. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Maya almost didn't answer, expecting another threat, but the voice on the other end wasn't threatening. It was terrified. Is this Maya Chen, the woman from the convenience store, female, young, crying? Who is this? My name is Jennifer Morrison. Tyler's my brother. Tyler Brennan, one of the guys from tonight? The voice cracked. Please don't hang up. I know what he did was wrong. I know he deserves to be in jail. But I have information. Information about Richard Webb. About what he's planning. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. I'm listening. Not on the phone. They monitor everything. They've been monitoring me for years, ever since I tried to report what I knew about my brother. Jennifer's voice dropped to a whisper. Webb is planning something for tomorrow. Something big. Something that will make this whole thing go away. What kind of something? I don't know the details, but I heard my father talking to Webb tonight. They mentioned your name. They mentioned making you disappear. Maya felt the familiar cold settle into her chest. Not fear. Focus. Where are you? I'm at the Ocean View Diner on Atlantic Avenue. I'll be here until 7. Please, if you care about what happened tonight, you need to hear what I have to say. The line went dead. Maya stared at the phone. Every instinct screamed trap. A mysterious caller with convenient information wanting to meet in person, claiming to be the sister of one of the attackers. It was textbook manipulation. But Jennifer had known details. She had known about the monitoring. She had known about Webb's involvement before it became public, and she had sounded genuinely terrified. Maya had 20 minutes to make a decision. Go to the diner and risk walking into an ambush, or stay in the safe house and possibly miss information that could blow the case wide open. She thought about Destiny sleeping peacefully in the next room. About the victims in those files who had tried to come forward and been silenced. About Richard Webb sitting in his office confident that his money and power would protect him forever. Maya grabbed her jacket and headed for the door. Some traps were worth walking into, especially when you were the one who planned to spring them. The Ocean View Diner sat on a corner of Atlantic Avenue, sandwiched between a pawn shop and a laundromat. Maya arrived at 6:47 a.m., 13 minutes before the deadline. She scanned the area from across the street first. 3 exits she could see, probably a 4th through the kitchen. 6 cars in the parking lot, none of them running. Early morning foot traffic was light, but present joggers, dog walkers, a man shuffling toward the bus stop. Nothing obviously wrong, which meant either this was legitimate or the trap was well constructed. Maya crossed the street and pushed through the diner's front door. The bell above announced her arrival. A handful of customers occupied various booths, an elderly couple sharing pancakes, a truck driver nursing coffee at the counter, 2 construction workers arguing about a football game, and in the back corner, a young woman in her mid-20s sat alone, her hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had clearly gone cold. Jennifer Morrison looked nothing like her brother. Where Tyler had been all aggression and entitlement, Jennifer had the hollow look of someone who had spent years carrying secrets too heavy for her shoulders. Dark circles under her eyes, bitten fingernails, a nervous twitch in her left eye that she kept trying to hide. Maya slid into the booth across from her without invitation. "You came." Jennifer's voice trembled with relief. "I didn't think you would." "I almost didn't. Start talking." "Right, okay." Jennifer took a shaky breath. "My brother Tyler he's always been like this. Ever since we were kids. He hurts people and someone always makes it go away. First it was my parents. Then it was Marcus's father. Richard Webb has been cleaning up their messes since college. I know about Webb's involvement. What's the new information?" "Webb is planning to destroy the evidence. All of it. The security footage, the witness statements, everything. He has someone inside the police department who's going to make it happen." Maya felt her stomach clench. "Someone inside? I don't know who, but I heard my father say it was already arranged. By noon today, everything would be gone. Like the whole thing never happened." "Why are you telling me this?" Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. "Because I'm tired. I'm so tired of watching them hurt people and get away with it. When I saw what you did to my brother on the news this morning, when I saw you just stand there and not be afraid of them, I thought maybe things could finally change. The footage is already on the news. They released it an hour ago. It's everywhere." Jennifer pulled out her phone, showed Maya the screen. The video was playing on loop across every major news site. Millions of views already. Thousands of comments. And Maya's face clear as day in every frame. There was no going back now. "You said Webb has someone inside the police department." Maya leaned forward. Any idea which department, local, state? I don't know. I only heard pieces of the conversation. Jennifer wiped her eyes. But there's something else. Something worse. What? Webb mentioned a backup plan, in case the evidence destruction didn't work. Jennifer's voice dropped to a whisper. He said if you became too much of a problem, he would handle it the same way he handled the others. Others, the other witnesses, the ones who tried to come forward over the years. Jennifer's hands shook so badly that coffee sloshed over the rim of her mug. They didn't just drop their cases, Maya. They disappeared. 2 of them officially moved away. 1 died in a car accident that was never properly investigated. The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. Webb wasn't just a lawyer protecting his son. He was running a criminal operation that had been covering up violence for decades. And she had just put herself directly in his crosshairs. I need you to come back to the police station with me. Maya kept her voice calm despite her racing thoughts. Give a formal statement about everything you just told me. I can't. Jennifer shook her head frantically. If they find out I talked to you, I'll protect you the same way I protected Destiny. You don't understand. These people are everywhere. They have cops, judges, politicians. There's nowhere safe. Then we make somewhere safe. Maya reached across the table and gripped Jennifer's trembling hands. Look at me. I know you're scared. I know this feels impossible. But you came here tonight because you wanted things to change. You wanted to stop running. You wanted to fight back. Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. I've wanted that for 10 years. Then let me help you. Come with me right now. We'll go to Captain Santos together. We'll build a case that even Webb can't destroy. Jennifer stared at her for a long moment. The battle playing out across her face was painful to watch. Fear warring with hope, self-preservation fighting against conscience. Finally, slowly, she nodded. Okay, I'll do it. Maya stood, keeping her grip on Jennifer's hand. Stay close to me. We're going to walk out of here calmly, get in my car, and drive directly to the station. Don't look around, don't react to anything you see. Just focus on me. They moved toward the door together. They were 3 steps from the exit when Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She's lying. It's a trap. Get out now. Maya froze. Her eyes swept the diner, cataloging every face, every position, every potential threat. The elderly couple was still eating pancakes. The truck driver was still nursing his coffee. The construction workers were still arguing about football, but one of them had shifted slightly. The one facing the door. His hand had moved under the table. Run, Maya breathed. Jennifer's face went white. What? Now? Maya shoved Jennifer toward the kitchen as gunfire erupted behind them. The construction worker who had moved, not a construction worker at all, was already rising weapon-drawn firing at where they had been standing a second before. The diner exploded into chaos. Screaming customers dove for cover. Glass shattered. The elderly couple that had been eating pancakes both pulled weapons and opened fire toward the kitchen. 4 shooters. At least 4, maybe more. Maya dragged Jennifer through the kitchen, past the terrified cook who was hiding behind the grill toward the back exit she had identified from outside. This way. Don't stop moving. They burst through the back door into an alley. Maya's car was parked 2 blocks away too far. They needed another option. A delivery truck sat idling at the end of the alley, driver's door hanging open while someone made a drop at the laundromat. Get in the truck, now! Jennifer didn't argue. She ran. Maya followed, checking over her shoulder as they moved. The back door of the diner crashed open. 2 of the shooters emerged, weapons raised. Maya reached the truck first, shoved Jennifer inside, and threw herself into the driver's seat. The keys were in the ignition. The first bullet hit the side mirror as she floored the accelerator. The truck lurched forward, tires screaming against asphalt. More shots rang out behind them, but Maya was already turning onto Atlantic Avenue, merging into morning traffic, putting distance and witnesses between them and the shooters. "Oh God, oh God, oh God." Jennifer was hyperventilating in the passenger seat. "They tried to kill us. They actually tried to kill us." "Breathe." Maya kept her eyes on the road, checking mirrors constantly. "Deep breaths. You're alive. We made it." "How did you know? How did you know it was a trap?" Maya's phone sat on the dashboard, the mysterious text still displayed on screen. "She's lying. It's a trap. Get out now." Someone had warned her, someone who knew the attack was coming, which meant someone inside Webb's organization had just saved her life. "I don't know," Maya admitted, "but I'm going to find out." She pulled the truck into a parking garage 3 blocks from the police station. They abandoned the vehicle and covered the remaining distance on foot, staying in crowds using reflective surfaces to check for followers. Captain Santos was waiting when they burst through the station doors. "Chen, we've been trying to reach you for an hour. Where the hell?" She stopped when she saw Jennifer Morrison. "Who is this Richard Webb's informant? She has evidence that he's been orchestrating witness disappearances for decades, and we were just ambushed at a diner by at least 4 shooters who were waiting for us." Santos's face went pale. "Shooters, are you hurt?" "We're fine. But Webb isn't just planning to destroy evidence. He's planning to destroy us." Maya handed over her phone. "Someone inside his organization warned me. I don't know who, but they knew about the ambush before it happened." Santos stared at the screen. Her jaw tightened. "This number." She held up the phone. "I recognize it." "You do? It's a number we've been monitoring for months, a number connected to someone very high up in Webb's organization." Santos looked up, her eyes burning. "It belongs to Richard Webb's wife." The revelation hit Maya like a thunderbolt. His wife? Why would his wife warn me? Maybe because she's tired, too. Santos glanced at Jennifer, who was still trembling. Maybe because she's been watching her husband destroy lives for 30 years, and finally found a moment where she could do something about it. Maya's mind raced through the implications. If Webb's own wife was working against him, if she was willing to burn down his empire from the inside, we need to contact her. Now, before Webb realizes what she's done. "Already on it." Santos was typing rapidly on her phone. "But Chen, there's something else you need to know. Something that changes everything." "What?" "The footage you released. It's not just viral. It's become a movement." Santos turned her phone to show Maya the screen. Women all over the country are coming forward, sharing their own stories, identifying their own Richard Webbs. Maya stared at the cascading social media posts. Thousands of women using the same hashtag, telling stories of harassment and assault, and systems that failed them. And at the center of it all, her face. Her moment. Her 15 seconds. "This isn't just about taking down one man anymore," Santos said quietly. "This is about changing everything." Maya looked at Jennifer, still shaking, but standing tall now. She looked at the screen full of women finding their voices. She thought about Destiny safe in the apartment waiting for news, and she realized that the mission had never really been about Richard Webb at all. It was about showing every victim in every dark corner that fighting back was possible, that predators could fall, that one moment of courage could light a fire that couldn't be extinguished. Maya straightened her shoulders. "Then let's make sure it counts." Santos moved fast. Within 30 minutes, she had Jennifer Morrison secured in a private interview room with a protective detail outside the door and a court reporter transcribing every word. Maya stood outside the room watching through the narrow window as Jennifer poured out 30 years of Webb family secrets. The corruption, the cover-ups, the victims who had tried to speak and been silenced. Every word was another nail in Richard Webb's coffin. "Chen." Santos appeared at her shoulder. "We made contact with Webb's wife. She's agreed to meet, but only with you." "Why me?" "She says she's been watching the footage. Says you remind her of someone she used to be before Richard destroyed that person." Santos handed her a slip of paper with an address. "She's at a hotel downtown, room 847. She'll wait exactly 1 hour, then she disappears." Maya checked her watch. 43 minutes left. "What about the shooters from the diner?" "We've got units canvassing the area. So far, nothing. They were professionals, Chen. They knew exactly what they were doing." Santos's jaw tightened. "Which means Webb has access to serious resources. This isn't just lawyers and corrupt cops. He's got trained operators on his payroll. I figured that out when they started shooting." "Then you know walking into that hotel alone is a risk." "Walking into that diner was a risk too." Maya pocketed the address. "But I got Jennifer out, and now I'm going to get whatever Webb's wife can give us." "I can send backup." "No." She said alone. "If I show up with cops, she bolts." Maya headed for the door. "Give me 2 hours. If I'm not back by then, assume something went wrong." "Chen." Santos's voice stopped her. "Be careful. We're close. Too close to lose you now." So Maya didn't answer. She just walked out into the morning sun and started moving. The hotel was exactly the kind of place someone with unlimited money would choose to hide in plain sight. Anonymous luxury. Discreet staff. The kind of establishment that valued privacy above everything else. Maya took the elevator to the 8th floor, her senses on high alert. Every sound registered. Every shadow catalogued. She had survived the diner ambush by seconds. She wouldn't be caught off guard again. Room 847 sat at the end of the hallway. Maya knocked twice, waited, knocked once more. The door opened. Catherine Webb was in her late 50s, but carried herself like someone much younger had once lived inside her. She had the polished appearance of old money designer clothes, tasteful jewelry hair, professionally styled. But her eyes told a different story. They were the eyes of someone who had watched something beautiful die slowly over many years. "You came." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I wasn't sure you would." "You saved my life. I figured I owed you a conversation." Catherine stepped aside to let Maya enter. "I wasn't trying to save your life specifically. I was trying to end my husband's. Your survival was just a fortunate side effect." The door closed behind them. Maya remained near the exit, unwilling to put herself in a position she couldn't escape from. "Why now? After 30 years of watching him destroy people, why did you finally decide to act?" Catherine moved to the window, her back to Maya. "Do you know what it's like to wake up every morning next to a monster and pretend he's human? To smile at charity galas while knowing the money was earned by crushing innocent people, to watch your own son become a predator because you were too afraid to stop his father from teaching him? No, I don't. It's like drowning in slow motion." Catherine turned to face her. "Every year you sink a little deeper. Every compromise takes you farther from who you used to be, until one day you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. What changed?" "I saw the video, the one from the convenience store." Catherine's voice cracked. "I saw that girl behind the counter. Destiny. And I remembered being 19 years old, working at my father's office when Richard Webb first noticed me." Maya felt her stomach tighten. "He targeted you." "I was his first victim. though I didn't understand that until much later. Catherine wrapped her arms around herself like she was trying to hold something together. He was charming, powerful. He made me feel special. And by the time I realized what he really was, I was already Mrs. Webb, already complicit, already trapped. You could have left. Could I? Catherine laughed bitterly. He told me very clearly what would happen if I ever tried. My family would be destroyed. My reputation would be obliterated. And if that wasn't enough, I would simply disappear, like the others. The witnesses Jennifer Morrison told us about. Among others. Catherine sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. Richard has made many people disappear over the years. Witnesses, business rivals, anyone who threatened his empire. He has connections everywhere. Police, judges, politicians, even people in the military. Maya's blood ran cold. Military. Richard has been cultivating relationships with defense contractors for decades. Some of his legal work involves classified projects. The people he knows. Catherine shook her head. They could reach you anywhere, Maya. You need to understand that. Taking on my husband means taking on an entire network of powerful, dangerous people. I've faced dangerous people before. Not like this. In combat, your enemies announce themselves. They wear uniforms. They follow rules even if the rules are different from yours. Catherine leaned forward. Richard's enemies never see him coming. They think they're safe, and then one day their brakes fail. Their house catches fire. They overdose on medications they never took. You're trying to scare me away. I'm trying to make you understand what you're fighting. Catherine stood and crossed to a safe hidden in the closet. But I'm also going to give you what you need to destroy him. She opened the safe and pulled out a thick manila envelope. 30 years of evidence. Financial records showing payments to corrupt officials. Photos of meetings with people who later disappeared. Recordings of conversations where Richard discussed eliminating threats. Catherine held out the envelope with trembling hands. I've been collecting this since the day I realized what kind of man I married. I never thought I'd have the courage to use it. Maya took the envelope. It was heavy. Heavier than paper should be. Why didn't you give this to the police years ago? Because Richard would have known it came from me, and I wasn't ready to die. Catherine's eyes glistened. But watching that video, seeing you stand up to 3 men who thought they could do whatever they wanted, it woke something up. Something I thought Richard had killed a long time ago. What happens to you now, once he realizes what you've done? I've already made arrangements. A friend is waiting to take me somewhere Richard will never find me. Catherine checked her watch. I need to leave in 10 minutes. But before I go, there's something else you need to know. What? The men who attacked you at the diner weren't just hired guns. They were a test. Richard wanted to see how you would react under pressure, how good your training really was. But Catherine's voice dropped. He was impressed, which means his next move won't be hired guns. What will it be? Personal. Richard never delegates the things that truly matter to him. And you, Maya Chen, have become very personal. The weight of Catherine's words settled over Maya like a shroud. He's coming for me himself. Not directly. He's too smart for that. But he'll be there, watching, controlling, making sure his revenge is perfect. Catherine moved toward the door. You need to be ready for anything. And you need to move fast. The evidence in that envelope will destroy him, but only if you can get it to the right people before he destroys you. Captain Santos, the prosecutor's office. And the FBI. Richard's crimes cross state lines. Federal charges are the only way to make sure he can't buy his way out. Catherine opened the door. There's an agent named David Park, who's been investigating Richard for years. He's clean, he's motivated, and he's been waiting for evidence exactly like what you're holding. She pressed a business card into Maya's hand. Call him. Today. Every hour you wait is another hour Richard has to find a way out. Maya looked at the card, looked at the envelope, looked at the woman who had spent 30 years trapped in a marriage to a monster and had finally found the courage to fight back. Catherine, thank you. Don't thank me. Finish this. Catherine stepped into the hallway. And Maya, when you see my husband fall, tell him it was me. Tell him Catherine sends her regards. She disappeared around the corner. A moment later, Maya heard the elevator ding, and then she was alone with an envelope that could bring down an empire. Maya didn't go straight back to the police station. She found a copy shop first made duplicates of everything in the envelope and sent packages to 3 different addresses: Captain Santos, Agent David Park, and a secure location that only she knew about. Insurance. In case something happened to her before this was over. Then she called Santos. I've got everything. Financial records, photos, recordings. Catherine Webb just handed us Richard Webb's entire criminal history on a silver platter. Where are you? Heading to Agent Park at the FBI field office. Catherine says he's been building a case for years. This evidence is exactly what he needs to move. I'll meet you there. Jennifer's statement is complete, and it corroborates everything you just described. Santos paused. Chen, this is really happening. We're actually going to take him down. Not yet. Maya kept her eyes on the street around her, watching for threats. Catherine warned me that Webb isn't going to go quietly. He's planning something personal. She said he'll be there himself, making sure his revenge is perfect. Then we need to move faster than he expects. Already on it. Maya ended the call and hailed a cab. The FBI field office was 20 minutes away. 20 minutes during which anything could happen. She spent the ride reviewing Catherine's evidence, financial transfers to offshore accounts, photographs of Richard Webb meeting with men whose faces appeared in federal databases, audio recordings of conversations that would make any jury convict. But one piece of evidence stood out above the rest, a photograph of Richard Webb standing next to a man in military uniform. The man was shaking Webb's hand, smiling like they were old friends. Maya recognized the uniform immediately. Navy, Admiral's insignia, someone very high up the chain of command. Catherine's warning echoed in her mind. He has connections everywhere, even people in the military. This went deeper than Maya had imagined. Deeper than a lawyer protecting his predator son. This was a network of power and corruption that stretched into the highest levels of American institutions. And Maya was about to kick the hornet's nest. The cab pulled up to the FBI field office. Maya paid the driver and stepped onto the sidewalk. She had taken 3 steps toward the entrance when her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Miss Chen? We finally speak directly. The voice was cultured, controlled, with the easy confidence of someone who had never doubted their own power. Maya knew immediately who it was. Richard Webb. Very good. I see my reputation precedes me. Webb's voice carried a hint of amusement. I must say I've been quite impressed with your performance over the past 24 hours, taking down my son and his friends, evading my contractors at the diner, convincing my wife to betray me. You've been remarkably resourceful. Is there a point to this call? The point, Miss Chen, is to offer you an opportunity. A chance to walk away from all of this with your career, your reputation, and your life intact. Maya stopped walking. I'm listening. The evidence you're carrying, hand it over. Walk away from this case. Return to your military duties and pretend none of this ever happened. Webb's voice hardened slightly. In exchange, I'll ensure that no harm comes to you, your family, or anyone you care about, including the young clerk from the convenience store. Destiny. Yes, Destiny Williams, currently in protective custody at 847 Maple Street, Apartment 3C, 3rd floor corner unit, single point of entry which makes it remarkably easy to breach. Webb paused. Do I have your attention now? Maya's blood turned to ice. If you touch her, I won't have to touch anyone if you make the right choice. Webb's voice returned to its earlier smoothness. You have 1 hour to deliver the evidence to my office. Come alone. If I see police, if I see FBI, if I see anything that suggests you're trying to be clever, Miss Williams will have a very unfortunate accident. The line went dead. Maya stood frozen on the sidewalk, her mind racing through options. Webb had made his move. He had found Destiny's location, which meant he had someone inside the police department after all. She could go to the FBI, hand over the evidence, let them handle Webb legally. But by the time they mobilized, by the time they got warrants and assembled teams, Destiny could be dead. She could call Santos, warn her about the leak, get Destiny moved immediately. But if Webb was monitoring her calls, if he had eyes everywhere, any move she made could trigger the attack. Or she could do what Webb expected her not to do. Walk into his office alone, with all the evidence, and trust her training to do the rest. Maya looked at the FBI building in front of her. Then she looked at her phone. Then she started walking in the opposite direction. Richard Webb's law firm occupied the top 3 floors of a glass tower in downtown Norfolk. Maya arrived with 12 minutes to spare, the envelope tucked inside her jacket, her mind cycling through tactical scenarios. Webb wanted her alone and vulnerable. He wanted to intimidate her, break her, make her surrender the evidence that could destroy him. He had no idea who he was dealing with. The lobby security waved her through without question. They had been expecting her. The elevator rose smoothly to the penthouse level, where a receptionist with dead eyes directed her to Webb's private office. The doors opened into a room that screamed wealth and power. Mahogany furniture, original artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view that made everyone below look like ants. Richard Webb stood behind his desk, silver-haired and impeccably dressed, looking exactly like the monster his wife had described. Miss Chen, thank you for being punctual. He gestured to a chair. Please sit. I'll stand. Suit yourself. Webb moved around the desk, positioning himself between Maya and the door. I assume you brought what I asked for. Maya pulled out the envelope. It's all here. Financial records, photos, recordings, everything your wife collected over 30 years. Catherine always was sentimental about documentation. Webb smiled coldly. She thought she was so clever hiding evidence in that safe. She never realized I knew about it the entire time. Maya's stomach dropped. You knew? I know everything that happens in my world, Miss Chen. Every move Catherine made. Every piece of evidence she collected, every plan she thought she was hiding from me. Webb's smile widened. I let her think she was building a case against me because it kept her occupied, and because I knew that eventually she would hand it all to someone exactly like you. This was a trap. This was a conclusion. The evidence you're holding is real, but it's also incomplete. Missing context, missing explanations. In the right hands, it tells a story of corruption. In my hands, it tells a story of misunderstanding and manufactured accusations. Webb reached out. Now give it to me, and we can discuss the terms of your surrender. Maya didn't move. Where's Destiny? Miss Williams is safe. For now. She'll remain safe as long as you cooperate. Prove it. Webb's eyebrow rose slightly. You're not in a position to make demands. Prove she's alive, or this conversation is over. For a moment, something flickered in Webb's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or grudging respect for someone who wasn't folding as easily as he expected. He pulled out his phone and tapped a number. Let me speak to the girl. A moment of silence. Then Webb handed the phone to Maya. Maya. Destiny's voice was trembling, but alive. Maya, I'm scared. There are men here. They came into the apartment and, are you hurt? No, not yet. But they said if you don't do what Mr. Webb wants... The phone was yanked away. Webb ended the call with a tap. Satisfied she's alive. She'll stay that way if you're sensible. Maya's training took over. Emotions compartmentalized. Fear converted to focus. Her mind mapped the room distance to Webb, distance to the door, the weight of the gun she could see bulging under his jacket. "Let me tell you how this is going to work," Maya said, her voice flat. "You're going to call your men and tell them to release Destiny. Then you're going to surrender yourself to federal authorities. And then maybe I won't kill you where you stand." Webb stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. "Miss Chen, you really are remarkable. Even now, facing impossible odds, you genuinely believe you can win." He shook his head with something like admiration. "I've destroyed senators. I've ruined generals. I've made billionaires disappear. And you think a petty officer from the Navy is going to be my downfall?" "Yes." "Why? Because you took down 3 drunk idiots in a convenience store. Because my neurotic wife handed you some papers." Webb stepped closer, close enough that Maya could smell his cologne. "You're out of your depth. You're outmatched. And in about 60 seconds you're going to learn exactly what happens to people who challenge Richard Webb." He pulled the gun from his jacket. Maya had been waiting for exactly that moment. She moved before his finger touched the trigger. Left hand trapped. His wrist. Right hand struck his elbow at the joint. The gun clattered to the floor as Webb screamed in pain. But he was faster than she expected. Stronger. He twisted away from her grip and drove his shoulder into her chest, sending her stumbling backward. "You think you're the first soldier I've dealt with?" Webb snarled, circling her with his injured arm hanging at his side. "I've had Navy SEALs on my payroll for years. I know exactly how you fight." He reached behind his desk and pulled out a second gun. Maya dove sideways as the first shot shattered the window behind her. Wind roared into the office, sending papers flying. She rolled behind a couch as 2 more shots punched through the leather. "You can't win." Webb's voice was ragged with rage. "I have men on every floor police on my payroll. Even if you kill me, you'll never make it out of this building alive." Maya's hand found the gun he had dropped. She checked the magazine. Full. "Then let's make sure we both go down." She rose and fired. The bullet caught Webb in the shoulder, spinning him around. His gun flew from his hand as he crashed against his desk. Maya was on him in a second knee on his chest gun, pressed under his chin. "Call your men. Tell them to release Destiny. Now." Blood seeped through Webb's shirt, his face contorted with pain and fury. "Go to hell. I've been there. It's not as scary as this." Maya pushed the gun harder. "Last chance. Make the call or I end you right here." Webb's eyes found hers. For 30 years, this man had been untouchable. For 30 years, he had destroyed anyone who challenged him. But he had never faced anyone like Maya Chen. "My phone," he gasped. "In my pocket." Maya retrieved it with her free hand, keeping the gun in place. "Call them." Webb's fingers trembled as he dialed. When the line connected, his voice was barely a whisper. "Release the girl. Let her go." "Sir, but the plan—" "I said let her go. That's an order." The line went silent. Then, "Yes, sir, she's being released now." Maya took the phone and ended the call. She kept the gun trained on Webb as she backed toward the door. "It's over, Richard. The FBI has copies of everything. So does Captain Santos. So do 3 different journalists I contacted this morning. By tomorrow, your entire empire will be front-page news." Webb laughed weakly, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. "You think this is over? I have connections you can't imagine. Friends in places you've never heard of. Even if I go down, they'll come for you. They'll never stop coming." "Let them try." Maya reached the door. "I'll be waiting." She slipped into the hallway as sirens began to wail in the distance. Someone had reported the gunshots. Police were coming. Real police this time, the kind Webb couldn't buy. Maya ran for the stairs. her heart pounding with something she hadn't felt in a long time. Not fear. Hope. Maya hit the stairwell door at full speed, taking the steps 3 at a time. Behind her, she could hear shouting from Webb's office. His security team had finally responded to the gunshots, but they were too late. She burst onto the street level just as the first police cars screeched to a halt outside the building. Captain Santos was already out of her vehicle, weapon drawn, eyes scanning the chaos. "Chen!" Maya sprinted toward her. "Webb's on the top floor, gunshot wound to the shoulder. He's not going anywhere." "What the hell happened up there?" "He drew on me." I responded. Maya pressed Webb's phone into Santos's hand. "His men had Destiny. He called them off, but we need to confirm she's safe." Santos was already barking orders into her radio. FBI vehicles were arriving now, agents in tactical gear pouring out like a coordinated assault. Agent David Park emerged from one of the SUVs, his face hard with determination. "Chen." He approached her with the kind of respect she had seen from fellow operators. "We got your package. The evidence is incredible. We're moving on warrants for 18 additional suspects as we speak." 18? Webb's network is bigger than we thought. Judges, police captains, 2 state senators. And Park shook his head in disbelief. "Catherine Webb didn't just give us her husband. She gave us the entire organization." Maya felt something loosen in her chest. It was actually happening. 30 years of corruption crumbling in a single day. "Destiny Williams. Is she safe?" "Teams are en route to her location now. We'll have confirmation in..." Park's radio crackled. He listened, then nodded. "She's secure. Webb's men abandoned the site before our people arrived. She's shaken but unharmed." Maya closed her eyes for just a moment. Let the relief wash through her. Then she opened them again. "What about Webb?" "Being transported to the hospital under armed guard. He'll be arraigned as soon as he's medically cleared." Park's eyes met hers with something like gratitude. "You did it, Chen. You actually took him down." "We did it. All of us." Maya looked at Santos, at the FBI agents, at the police officers who had chosen integrity over corruption. This was never about one person. Santos's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and her face transformed. The footage from Webb's office. The security cameras caught everything. His confession. Him drawing his weapon first. Everything. He had security cameras. He thought he was untouchable. Thought the footage would just show him dealing with another threat. Santos almost smiled. Instead, it shows him admitting to witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and attempted murder. Maya thought about the irony. Webb's own paranoid need to document everything had become the final nail in his coffin. What happens now? Now you give your statement, then you go home and get some rest. Santos put her hand on Maya's shoulder. You've done enough for one weekend, Chen. Let us handle the paperwork. But Maya wasn't ready to rest. Not yet. I need to see Destiny first. Santos hesitated, then nodded. I'll have someone drive you. The safe house was controlled chaos when Maya arrived. FBI agents conducting interviews, local police establishing a security perimeter, and in the middle of it all, Destiny Williams sat wrapped in a blanket, looking smaller and younger than she had at any point during the nightmare of the past 24 hours. Her eyes found Maya the moment she walked through the door. Maya? Destiny launched herself across the room, crashing into Maya with a force that nearly knocked them both over. Her arms wrapped around Maya's neck and she held on like she would never let go. I thought they were going to kill me. Destiny's voice was muffled against Maya's shoulder. They had guns. They said if you didn't cooperate, they would... It's over. Maya held her tightly, feeling the girl's body shake with sobs. It's over, Destiny. They can't hurt you anymore. How did you stop them? Maya pulled back enough to look into Destiny's tear-streaked face. I did what I was trained to do. I protected someone who needed protecting. But Webb, he's so powerful. Everyone said he couldn't be stopped. Everyone was wrong. Maya wiped a tear from Destiny's cheek. The only reason men like Webb seem unstoppable is because people believe they are. The moment someone refuses to believe it, the moment someone stands up and says, "No more," the whole illusion falls apart. Destiny stared at her with something like wonder. You really aren't afraid of anything, are you? I told you before. I'm afraid all the time. I'm afraid of failing people. I'm afraid of not being there when someone needs me. Maya smiled slightly. I was terrified in that convenience store. I was terrified in Webb's office. But fear doesn't get to make my choices. I do. Jennifer Morrison appeared in the doorway, her own eyes red from crying. But there was something different about her now. She stood straighter. Her voice was steadier. They're saying Webb is going to be charged with over 40 felonies, federal charges, state charges. The prosecutors are talking about life in prison. He deserves worse. Destiny's voice hardened. He'll get what the law allows. Maya looked at both young women. And more importantly, he'll never hurt anyone again. Neither will his son. Neither will any of the men who helped him. Jennifer crossed to where they stood. I never thought I'd see this day. I've spent 10 years watching my brother do terrible things and knowing no one would ever stop him. And now, she shook her head. It still doesn't feel real. It'll feel real tomorrow, when you wake up and realize you don't have to be afraid anymore. Maya pulled both women into a loose embrace. You two survived something that should have destroyed you. That makes you stronger than you know. They stood together in the aftermath, 3 women bound by trauma and triumph, as the sun began to set on the longest day of their lives. The following weeks blurred together in a cascade of legal proceedings and media frenzy. Richard Webb was arraigned from his hospital bed, his lawyer looking increasingly desperate as the charges mounted. The evidence Catherine had collected was devastating. The security footage from his office was damning, and the parade of witnesses coming forward, victims who had been silenced for years, finally finding their voices, was endless. Maya testified 3 times. Once for the federal grand jury, once for the state prosecutor, once for a congressional committee investigating corruption in law enforcement. Each time she told the same simple truth. She had seen someone in trouble, and she had acted. The media called her a hero. Military recruiters used her image in campaigns. Talk shows begged for interviews. Maya declined almost all of them. I don't need to be famous, she told Captain Hayes when he asked about the attention. I just need to know the job is done. The job is very done, Hayes assured her. Webb is facing multiple life sentences. His network is being dismantled piece by piece, and your face is now the symbol of an entire movement. I didn't ask for that. No. But sometimes the mission chooses us, not the other way around. And Hayes leaned back in his chair. The Navy is proud of you, Chen. I'm proud of you. Whatever you want to do next, you've earned it. Maya thought about that for a long time. 3 months after the convenience store confrontation, she returned to Virginia Beach. Not for leave this time. For a ceremony she had been told was mandatory. The quick stop where it all began had been transformed. The parking lot was filled with people. Local news cameras lined the perimeter. A small stage had been erected near the entrance, decorated with flowers and American flags. Maya almost turned around and left. But then she saw Destiny. The girl stood near the front of the crowd, looking nothing like the terrified teenager Maya had first encountered. Her hair was different. Her posture was confident, and she was wearing something Maya had never expected to see. A police academy uniform. You joined the academy. Maya couldn't keep the surprise from her voice. Destiny grinned. Started 2 weeks ago. Turns out watching someone take down 3 guys in 15 seconds is pretty good motivation for a career change. You were already brave before that night. You just didn't know it yet. Maybe. Destiny's eyes glistened. But you showed me what brave actually looks like. What it means to stand up even when you're terrified. I want to be that for someone else someday. Maya felt her throat tighten. This was why she had chosen this life. Not for medals or recognition. For moments like this. For people like Destiny, who would carry the torch forward. You're going to be an amazing cop. I'm going to try. Destiny looked toward the stage. They're about to start. You should probably get up there. What exactly is this ceremony for? Destiny's grin widened. You'll see. The crowd parted as Maya made her way to the stage. Captain Santos was there, along with Agent Park, several Navy officers, and Maya's heart skipped Captain Hayes himself. Chen. Hayes shook her hand with a warmth that surprised her. I told you the Navy was proud. I meant it. A woman Maya didn't recognize stepped to the microphone. Later, she would learn it was the mayor of Virginia Beach. At the time, all she heard was a blur of words about courage and service and inspiration. Then Santos took the microphone. 4 months ago, a young woman walked into this store to buy energy drinks. What she found instead was a teenage girl being terrorized by predators who thought they could do whatever they wanted. Santos's voice carried across the silent crowd. What happened next changed everything. She turned to face Maya directly. Petty Officer First Class Maya Chen didn't ask to become a symbol. She didn't want fame or recognition. She just did what her training and her conscience demanded. She protected someone who couldn't protect themselves. Santos held up a small velvet box. On behalf of the city of Virginia Beach, the United States Navy, and the countless women who have found their voices, because of what happened that night, I am honored to present Maya Chen with the Navy Distinguished Service Medal for actions above and beyond the call of duty in protecting civilian lives. The crowd erupted in applause. Maya stepped forward on legs that felt suddenly unsteady. She had received commendations before, had been recognized for classified operations that would never be public. But this was different. This was for something everyone could see, something that mattered in a way she was still learning to understand. Santos pinned the medal to Maya's uniform. Then she stepped back and saluted. Thank you, Santos said quietly below the microphone, for all of it. Maya returned the salute. Thank you for believing the mission was worth fighting. The crowd began to disperse after the ceremony. Maya found herself surrounded by people wanting to shake her hand, take photos, share their own stories of times when someone had stood up for them. She accepted it all with the same calm composure she had shown in Webb's office. But inside, she was counting the minutes until she could be alone. Finally, as the sun began its descent toward the horizon, she found a quiet corner of the parking lot. The same spot where she had parked her car that night, what felt like a lifetime ago. A voice interrupted her solitude. Penny for your thoughts. Maya turned. Catherine Webb stood a few feet away, looking utterly different from the last time they had met. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. The haunted expression had lifted, leaving something almost peaceful in its place. Catherine, I didn't expect to see you. I wanted to watch, from a distance. Catherine moved closer. I wanted to see the woman who did what I couldn't do for 30 years. You did plenty. That evidence saved everything. Evidence I should have used decades ago. Evidence that could have saved so many people so much pain. Catherine's voice cracked slightly. I spent 30 years being afraid. And in the end, all that fear accomplished was allowing Richard to destroy more lives. You got out. You helped end it. That counts for something. Does it? Catherine shook her head. I keep thinking about all the victims, the ones who came forward and were silenced, the ones who never came forward at all because they saw what happened to the others. Her eyes found Maya's. How do you forgive yourself for being complicit in something like that? Maya was quiet for a long moment. You don't forgive yourself. Not completely. You carry it. You let it remind you why you can't ever look away again. She reached out and touched Catherine's arm. What matters now is what you do next. How you use the time you have left. I've been thinking about that. A lot. Catherine squared her shoulders. There's a foundation being established for victims of powerful abusers. Women who need legal help, financial support, protection from retaliation. I want to fund it. Run it. Spend the rest of my life helping the people Richard hurt. That sounds like exactly the right thing. Will you be involved? The board wants you as an advisor. Maya considered it. Her instinct was to decline to return to the shadows where she was most comfortable. But something had changed in her over these past months, something that made her think maybe the light wasn't so bad after all. I'll think about it. That's all I can ask. Catherine extended her hand. Thank you, Maya, for everything. They shook hands as equals. Two women who had faced the same monster and survived. Two women who would spend the rest of their lives making sure others survived too. Catherine walked away into the fading light. Maya stood alone in the parking lot, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. A hand touched her shoulder. There you are. Destiny appeared beside her, still in her academy uniform. I've been looking everywhere. There's something I want to show you. What is it? Destiny pulled out her phone and opened a social media app. Look. The screen showed a hashtag #StepBackNow. Underneath it were thousands of posts, hundreds of thousands. Stories from women all over the world who had found the courage to stand up, speak out, fight back. Stories of convenience store clerks and corporate executives, of students and soldiers, of mothers and daughters who had watched Maya's footage and decided they didn't have to be afraid anymore. It's a movement, Destiny said quietly. You started a movement. Maya scrolled through the posts, her vision blurring slightly. She had spent her career in the shadows doing work that no one would ever know about. And now, because of 15 seconds in a convenience store, her face was the symbol of something she had never imagined. I didn't start this, Maya said finally. You did, Jennifer did, Catherine did. Every woman who ever said no more in her own way started this. But you showed us how. Destiny put her phone away. You showed us that standing up is possible, that we don't have to accept being afraid, that one person in one moment can change everything. Maya thought about all the moments that had led to this one. The woman who had thrown a water bottle at a van when Maya was 16. The drill instructors who had pushed her beyond what she thought possible. The teammates who had taught her that strength came from protecting others, not just yourself. Everything connected. Every moment mattered. What happens now? Destiny asked. Maya looked at the young woman beside her, looked at the future of law enforcement standing in a police academy uniform, ready to become the protector she had needed that night. Now you go back to the academy. You graduate at the top of your class. You become the kind of cop who makes people feel safe just by walking into a room. Maya smiled. And when you see someone in trouble, you don't look away. You step forward. Every time. Destiny nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of those words. What about you? I have a meeting with my commanding officer tomorrow. Something about a new assignment. Maya glanced at the medal pinned to her chest. The Navy has plans for me, apparently. Saving the world. Something like that. They stood together, as the last light faded from the sky. Two women who had met by chance on the worst night of one's life and the most ordinary night of the other's. Two women who had become something neither expected. Family. Maya. Destiny's voice was soft. Yeah. Thank you. For not walking away. For seeing me when no one else would. Maya pulled her into a final embrace. Thank you for reminding me why I fight. They separated as full darkness settled over Virginia Beach. Destiny headed toward her car, toward her future, toward a life that would be defined by the courage she had discovered in herself. Maya watched her go. Then she turned and walked into the night toward whatever came next. The world was full of predators who thought they were untouchable, full of victims who thought they were alone, full of moments when one person could make the difference between despair and hope. Maya Chen had stopped looking for peace. She had found something better. Purpose. And God help anyone who got in her way. The convenience store stood quiet now, its fluorescent lights humming their eternal song. A new clerk worked the counter, unaware of what had happened in this space, unaware of how 15 seconds had changed the world. But the story remained, told and retold, spreading from person to person, city to city, country to country. The story of a woman who refused to look away. The story of victims who found their voices. The story of an empire that crumbled because one person said the words that would echo through history. Step back now. And when the predators didn't step back, they learned the truth that Maya Chen had always known. Some people look like victims. Some people look like easy targets. Some people stand 5'3" and weigh 125 pounds and appear to be nothing more than a tired woman buying energy drinks at midnight. But appearances lie. And underestimating the wrong person is the last mistake some predators ever make. This is where the story ends. But for Maya Chen, for Destiny Williams, for every woman who watched that footage and decided to stop being afraid, the story was just beginning. Because courage is contagious. And once it spreads, nothing can stop it. Not money, not power, not 30 years of corruption, nothing.